Hey guys, Kiko here for another Q&A. I love doing those Q&A videos, so keep sending questions here down below and subscribe to the channel, right? So here we go. The first question from Ryan Periasami. Do you feel it's getting more difficult to practice and remember as you get older? I don't think so. I believe learning, learning is a habit, right? So it's not like you learn, and at some point you do your stuff. It's like you go to university and you learn for 4, 5, 6 years, and then you're ready to do your job. It's not like this. When you get older, you realize that the world is dominated by the doers, not the learners. And you have to learn how to learn and learn how to make a learning process a habit in your life. So I'm sure I will be 93, 95, 101 years old learning something new because it's a habit in my life. And the main thing is like you have to learn and apply. Learn and apply. If you just learn a lot and then you think that a year from now we're gonna start applying, this is not gonna happen, right? So in music, if you learn a new scale, a new chord, you have to improvise with that scale. You have to compose something with that scale. You have to write a song with that new chord. Otherwise, you're not, incorporate that knowledge, right? And so that's the main thing, So it's like the other day I was learning like that song from Chicoria. I just like, I want to, learn that melody from Armando's Rumba, right? Something like, it's like, all right, cool. So I learned that, but for me, there's no purpose to learn a song like this if I don't start right away applying. So then I start improvising a different melody. I start to, how can I play something like this, compose a song like that? Can I add distortion and do a metal song with some of those grooves or accents or, or maybe check the harmony, like whatever. So how can I use those things in my music, So right away, so getting older, now I understood that thing. Like I learned something and I try to use it right away. So that's, I think it's better now than in the past. And it was a long answer for a simple question, but I hope that was helpful for you. The next one, let's go for the next one. This one was an interesting comment. It was not a question. From Travis Bartley. Post-Stelling said in order to break the rules, first you have to learn the rules. And then he completes here, I've been gigging for over 25 years and nothing worse than working with another guitarist that cannot play in key or doesn't know the chord structures, etc. All right, so because we're talking about theory in the other video, and then, it's not a phrase from Post-Stelling, that's a famous quote, you have to know all the rules before you break the rules. But the thing is, it's a dangerous phrase, I believe, because you have centuries of music rules, that keep changing, and then you're gonna learn all those rules before you're ready. So it's about what I just said about like learning something and applying and doing your own way and mixing and creating something. Post-Stelling, so they were like a Beatles fan, and then they love comic books and superheroes. And, as a good North American person that wants to save the world with the superpowers. And then they create Kiss, which is like a comic book superhero Beatles on asteroids, right? So it's right away. You don't need to learn the rules. So you start playing, you start doing stuff, you start creating with the tools that you know. So, and then of course, if you want to go back to, to Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, go to the 17th century and start learning the rules of counterpoint, and then the first species and the second species and the parallel motions and that, all that. It's like there's a lot of rules only there. It's gonna take years, and then you're not gonna do any music because you need to know that those rules to break them. Somebody already broke those rules at some point, like 200 years ago, 100 years ago, and so the music you listen now is full of broken rules, and then and you have it already. It's just a matter of like trying and doing yourself. So I think it's a dangerous phrase because of that. I need to learn that, but there's a lot of stuff to learn, and you're gonna wait, right? So to do your own thing, actually you don't need to know much to do your own thing. Just combine ideas and try. You learn a chord, then you move a finger and say like, oh, I like that. Like things like that. Like you do a chord like this, and if I change this, and what about if I just move this finger like this or that? And then you discover stuff, and then at some point you go back to the books and say like, oh, the weird notes that I'm playing, somebody did that 100 years ago, and there's a name for that. So that will normally will happen. That's what it will happen. You can play all the weird combinations of notes, and you find a composer, Ravel, Stravinsky, Schoenberg, or somebody that did that and wrote a book about it. All right, so you don't need to learn the rules to break the rules, right? And also, if you play for 25 years and you're playing with somebody that doesn't know the basic chord structure, it's just wrong. It's like a black belt fighting with a white belt. It's just wrong. It's like the black belt has to find another black belt to really train. And if you want to play and have a good feeling, you have to find the good balance of how difficult it is and your capability. So because if you're capable of doing a lot of stuff and you try to play a very simple song, it's going to be boring. If you don't know much and you try to play a very hard and complicated song, you're going to be like disappointed with yourself. You will give up. So you have to find the balance of something that is challenging for you, but is still like close to your level, so you get excited to learn new things every day. So if you play for 25 years and you're playing with a beginner, it's not gonna work, right? So that's clear. Another one here from Yoris Binet. Does Dave Mustaine use theory to compose? Another question about Dave Mustaine and another question about theory. So no, he doesn't use theory at all. And you have to understand that people are different, right? So a creator can play something and just imagine the mountains, the sea, the hell, what the war. Imagine things like those sounds. He can relate that riff to a machine gun, or can relate that riff to a bomb exploding. In the case of Megadeth, but you can play a chord and imagine the mountains, the sun, sailing, whatever, So some people are like this, Some other people, they need the theory, they need the names, they need the things organized and to make sense, So, that's why some people really relate on the theory and love theory. I love theory. Some other people don't feel they need theory to compose, to create, because it's all about imagination. And of course, the basic stuff they might know. Oh, this is a major chord, this is a minor chord, this is the name of the notes, like E, A, D. But in the end, it really doesn't matter as well, So, does Dave Mustaine use theory? No, he doesn't. Actually, there was a day that we were playing in Boston, doing a concert in Boston, and the band was invited to go to Berklee College of Music, an invitation from Steve Bailey. And Victor Wooten was there, Steve Bailey, the whole band. And there was a Megadeth ensemble. And so the guys played Tornado of Souls, right? The whole song, and we were there watching them playing. And so at some point, I don't know, the discussion about the song and the composition and the solos and, Steve Bailey, Victor Wooten, I don't know. I just said, oh, this is a great solo because it's B minor Aeolian, but at some point has a major E major triad, which makes the B minor being a B Dorian, and then it goes to G major. But there in the melody of the solo, there's a note F note, right? And this makes like a Lydian flat seventh. And I don't know. I was just saying those things, and then like Dave was like, what analyzing the scales and the names of the harmony that was kind of underneath the solo, right? So I think it's fascinating knowing theory, because you can say stuff like that. And then at the Berklee College of Music, it was like pretty, the best place to mention names like this, But yeah. So, answering your question, no, Dave doesn't use any theory to compose his music, but I do. Well, thanks a lot, and see you in the next video. Subscribe to the channel, send your questions, and have a lovely 2022.